Hey, doing chest today, that's obvious, because I'm in the original Tyler Hobson Pendulum chest press. This may be the last time you see me using this piece, because I got a brand new one coming in. It's going to be here in a week. And that's a Rogers Athletics Pendulum chest press. And I also have a Rogers Athletics shoulder incline, brand new one coming in. Those are going to be two sweet pieces. I may take this piece out, I'm pretty sure I am, and I'm going to put it in my main facility. It's a mint, and it's a tremendous piece. I'm also going to take my hip press out, my red upholstery mint hip press out of my garage, and put that in my gym. I got MedX dual 600-pound stack selectorized leg press coming in. I'm going to put that in place of the MedX, or excuse me, the hip press out of my garage. And I also got a very nice new Cybex VR3 Prestige line selectorized leg press coming in. It's what this Cybex is where the platform moves out and down. Normally the Cybex VR3, VR2, the seat moves up and backwards. I don't like that. I like a machine that the platform moves out and down. That's like my Avenger plate loaded, and then also the MedX selectorized I got coming in. I like the plate to move out and down. And I've been wanting the Cybex for a very long time. This VR3, they run $5,000 to $6,000, and to find one used is pretty difficult. Normally they come in a circuit, and the people selling them don't want to take the leg press out of the circuit because it's a main piece in the circuit. It's a main selling point in the circus. But I picked up two original Atlantis pieces also, which you're going to be seeing. It's a Atlantis line selectorized converging chest press, and also an Atlantis seated chest supported back row. And these are the older Atlantises when they were made in the USA, made out of steel, and these are the finer pieces. So I got quite a few new pieces coming in the week. And again, I'm back in this piece, and I got 5 plates on. I'm trying to work my way up. I got to really wrap my mind around getting back into this 4 to 6 rep range to get my chest build. Lately I've been fooling around supersetting, tri-setting, and giant setting. And it's really not cutting it. I'm getting a little too stringy. I had to increase my fat intake to get my back swolled out, get my vascularity back out, get more fluid into the muscles, because cell volumization or fluid pulled into the muscles is legit mass. There's 2 ways to develop mass in the muscle, and that's through volumization, and it's also through new cell proliferation, or cellular growth. Pulling volume into the muscle through fluid and liquid is the easier way to go ahead and gain weight, especially if you're depleted. That's why often after a bodybuilding show, people will start eating everything and they grow 20 pounds real quick. And that's mostly through, or I say it's solely through cellular volumization, pulling the fluid back into the muscle, swelling the muscle back out. And it's very key that when you're dieting and getting ready for a show, often people say, well, I flattened out, I cut my carbs, I flattened out. Well, that's basically from urination. Urination not off of just the external, but internal muscular mass, or in other words, the fluid out of the cell gets also excreted and urinated off. And that's the main component as why creatine works so well. Creatine, when transported into the muscle, creates an enzymatic reaction that allows the cell to actually hold more volumization or more fluid. That's exactly what creatine is supposed to do, and because creatine creates this enzymatic reaction, allowing the cellular component of the muscle to hold more fluid, you get volumization, you gain mass, and that's legitimate mass volumization. And again, that's usually the first to go whenever you're dieting through manipulation of carbohydrates. That's why athletes prior to a bodybuilding show carb back up. They want to pull that volumization back into the muscle, stretch the skin out more, and get more vascularity. So it's very key when you're dieting for a show. You got to monitor this. When you start flattening out through a loss of cellular volumization, you start getting weaker. And it doesn't help whenever you start tri-setting and giant setting and pre-exhaustion methods when you're doing this. It's just going to make you a little more stringier. Again, your body is based upon how you're training. If you're training very, very high intensity and very, very difficult in the 4 to 6 rep range using straight sets, then your body is going to reflect that in more size, more density. And if you change your training parameters, you may think, well, I'm training harder with giant sets or tri-sets or pre-exhaustion sets. You're training longer, but you're not training more intensely. You're trying harder, but you're not training more intensely. Intensity revolves around the amount of resistance you can move for your desired number of reps. Basically, you're doing straight sets. And you gotta really stay onto that whenever you're trying to diet down and get ripped. You just let the diet do the work for you. Don't get too antsy by trying to push it by using advanced techniques and upping your cardio. You just got to stay steadfast on the diet. You can manipulate your carbohydrates, but don't drop your carbohydrates too low. You should really just try to annihilate or drop all the fats out of your diet. Even if you do that, try to take all the fats out of your diet, you're still going to end up with 10% or more of your calories with fat. There's trace elements of fat in everything. Chicken breast, fish, your oatmeal, no matter how much fat you try to remove from your diet, unless you're just ultimately strict, but you're not going to be ultimately strict and go with just zero fat content and everything like some white fish and rice. You're going to end up with 10% of your calories coming from that. If your carbohydrates are, depending on your size, 200 grams or more, and you got to look, 200 grams of carbohydrates on 800 calories. And if you're running 250 grams of protein, that's only 1,000. So you're looking at 1,800 calories. And 1,800 calories is really a strong deficit, especially if you're 200 plus, because that's 8.5 calories per pound, and that's basically starvation. So you really have to run one higher or both higher, either your protein or your carbohydrate. A 250 pound guy really only needs 1 gram, maybe 1.25 grams, depending on how you're training, of protein per pound of body weight. So the macronutrient that you should try to push or try to keep up, allowing the diet to do the work for you to lose the fat, is the carbohydrate. Because the carbohydrate will give you the energy, and it will give you the size, and it's easier to eat more carbohydrate and the complex type form carb, not sugars, not honey or sugars or anything like that. But in a complex type form, and it can be yams, sweet potatoes, rice, some sort of pasta in that retrospect. But let the diet do the work for you. Don't go nil on your carbohydrates or you're going to flatten out. And when you flatten out, it's really a mind game for you because you think you're losing way too much weight. In a sense you are, because you're going to lose power too. And power is really important whenever you're training for a contest. You got to keep your intensity and your power up to maintain your mass. So you cut your carbohydrates too much, you flatten out, you start losing power, then you start getting really antsy on your diet, and chances are you're going to ruin your diet, or you're going to include too many cheat meals in your diet than what is necessary. So run your carbohydrates moderately high, your protein high, your fat as low as you can get it. Now every 3 or 4 days, if your vascularity, if you're going a little flat, throw in a couple whole eggs with your breakfast. Go ahead and run your oatmeal and your egg whites and take 2 extra large eggs. I take an extra large egg or 2 extra large eggs and just put it on top of my rice with my egg whites for breakfast. It's absolutely tastes great, especially when you haven't had whole eggs in a while. And that'll help bring your vascularity back out and help fill you up, because it's really a great type of fat, omega type fat. And it's very healthy for you. You can run a cheat meal. I can imagine that needs to be done probably every 10 days or so if you want to do a cheat meal, if you're just freaking out and you got to get something in you. If I'm going ultra strict and I'm going to compete and I want to get ultra shredded, I won't do a cheat meal. I'm just too paranoid about it. And often I tell people, if they're getting ready for a show and they're cutting their carbohydrates and they're flattening out and they're looking stringy and they're not as powerful, stay covered up in the gym. Don't look at yourself continuously in the gym. It's too much of a mind game for you. And again, when the mind game takes over, you end up doing the wrong things, and especially talking yourself into pulling out of the show, or you think you may need to do more volume, or you may need to do more cardio because you're looking stringy, you're not looking lean, you're not looking cut. And you got to remember that whenever you start dieting down, you're going to look worse before you look better, because no matter when you do change the diet and tend to go strict on your lean proteins and complex carbohydrates, you do drop water weight. It can't be helped, and you do start looking looser. You got to get over that 3-week hump, that 1-month hump, and then you'll start toning up and the body will kick into overdrive and it'll burn fat for you. So it's a very difficult fine line to walk when you're trying to lose weight and you're trying to get in good condition. You got to get over the hurdle. You don't want to cut your carbohydrates too much. You can keep your protein moderate. You don't want to start advanced training such as pre-exhaustion, giant sets, triceps, drop sets. You want to stick with strict sets, higher intensity, lower volume, lower rep ranges, so you can train with much more resistance. So here I am. I got to wrap my mind around it too, because I get antsy when I'm trying to lean out. And, no, it's not happening fast enough, David. It's not happening fast enough, David. But I do remember when I competed, it would take me 12 hardcore weeks of training to get me ultra shredded. And that's my lower back Christmas tree, my lower lat tie-ins, which is the hardest for me to get in. My legs always get super ripped first, and then the shoulders and the arms, and of course the face is the first to get ripped out. When you start to lose fat, you lose fat from the top of the head and the ankles up. These are the less places that you carry fat. So as you're burning fat systematically off the body, you really can't spot reduce as you're burning fat. It's being released off the body, and these places will show first your calves, your face, and your traps, and your shoulders, the chest. And it's always the lower back. It's always the abdominal and the lower abdominal that's going to come off last. But you got to see that through, and you got to stick hard on the diet. And you can't let yourself flatten out again. You're going to flatten out, but you got to know how to work your way around that and manipulate that so you don't, ruin your diet and stop your diet. It's very crucial. Sometimes you may have to lose 20, 30, 40 pounds to get in condition. It depends on your body fat when you first start. I start probably at 10%, but I can easily drop 20 pounds or more if I'm not careful. I require a high amount of carbohydrate, and I got to throw some fat in there. And often I'll eat a whole pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream before I go to bed. Let's say every 2 weeks or so, because I just got to fill out again. I just don't feel comfortable going flat, non-vascular. In retrospect, that helps me in my condition, because I'm not going for a contest. Going for a contest, I really wouldn't do that. I'd accept the flatness and just keep burning the fat off until I'm in prime condition. So that's a little bit of spiel about diet, carbohydrates, protein, and how to train. And then you can extrapolate out of that something important if you're trying to diet and trying to get into condition. Okay, so I'm back in this this original Tyler Hobson Pendulum chest press. I'm up to a 10 pack. I haven't been back in this a while, so I'm going to try to get in the 4 to 6 rep range. If this feels good, I'm probably going to double it. I'm going to go up higher, so we'll see how that goes. That went well. I haven't been in this machine for a long time. Well, I've been in this machine just recently, but then I'm just screwing around with giant sets and stuff like that, and not really focusing on pure power resistance, and that's what I did there. So that felt pretty good. Wrist, a little bit of I say looseness on the wrist, because again, I've taken weeks off where I just train pure power, and you got to keep those wrists nice and tight. I could feel it on the wrist. I had the power, I had the mental aspect of it down pat. I'm probably just going to add quarters to this, 5 plates and a quarter, which is a decent amount of weight. I'm not going to go up to a 6-pack this time, and I'll see if I can take 5 and a quarter and get 4 solid reps on that.